Prince Andrew and the former President Bill Clinton.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
What?
Have been named in newly released court documents relating to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. They include associates, friends and alleged victims of the disgraced billionaire who died in jail 5 years ago. The papers relate to a case that was brought against Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. She's currently serving a 20-year jail sentence for child sex trafficking. Our correspondent in Los Angeles, Peter Bowes, told us more about what's in the documents.
There are 943 pages in all, transcripts of interviews, depositions, all part of a civil lawsuit brought by one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers against Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime friend and associate, who is now serving 20 years in prison for crimes that she committed with him. And yes, these documents have references to several of the very high-profile people that we know were associates of Jeffrey Epstein over the years. There are more than 60 references to Prince Andrew. There's the repeating of at least one allegation against him that in the past Buckingham Palace has described as categorically untrue. Former President Bill Clinton is also mentioned as expected. He was known sometimes to use Jeffrey Epstein's planes to fly on humanitarian trips to Africa. But again, there is no suggestion in these documents that he did anything illegal. There are also some references to Donald Trump, and again, no suggestion that he was involved in any wrongdoing. And also references and the names of many other people who are not famous. In fact, it's notable that the judge who authorised the release of these documents said that many of those people had not objected to the release of these documents, which suggests that for those people this could be, in a sense, a clearing of the air, that yes, they may well have crossed paths with Epstein at some point in some way in the past, but for them there is certainly no suggestion that they are implicated in his crimes. There is still more to come on this. There are some more documents that are due to be released in the coming days.
Our correspondent in Los Angeles, Peter Bowes there. Well, let's go live now to Lucia Osborne-Crowley, who's a legal affairs reporter with legal news service Law 360 and the author of a forthcoming book on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, The Lasting Harm. Thank you so much for joining us, Lucia. This is a long-awaited, long-anticipated list. Why have the names been released now?
Well, this, I think, is one of the most important things to talk about today because, as we've just heard, this lawsuit was filed in 2015. It's a lawsuit that's almost 10 years old, and these names have been protected by judges for again and again over those 9 years. And it's really significant that Judge Loretta Preska has made this decision to make these documents public, because I think it shows that there has been a shift both in the legal system and in the culture in terms of taking these kind of sexual offences more seriously. Of course, in the time between, so this is a defamation lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell brought by Virginia Giuffre, who, as we know, has been fighting for justice for herself and other survivors of Jeffrey Epstein for a very, very long time. And in the time since this lawsuit was filed, of course, as Peter just mentioned, Ghislaine Maxwell has been convicted in a federal trial. So the fact that a decision has been made to stop protecting the names of these people just shows us that I think the legal landscape is changing, that judges are more willing to be transparent and more willing to stand up to wealth and power when it comes to the impunity that they have operated with for a very long time.
What's the legal implication for the names on the list?
So, as we've just heard, for a number of the names, there is no allegation of any illegal conduct, so any involvement in the sex trafficking or sexual abuse itself. There is a repetition of an allegation we have heard before, but this is in sworn testimony. So there's another victim who alleges that Prince Andrew groped her in one of Jeffrey Epstein's homes. The fact that that allegation has been repeated in a deposition is significant. I think he will have to answer questions about that. As we know, the palace and he himself have vehemently denied all allegations, but the repetition of this allegation by a second victim, apart from Virginia Giuffre, who sued him personally, is significant. And the legal implications also, the fact that these are now in the public domain might make it easier for victims to come forward and file their own lawsuits, because this is a whole trove of new evidence that was kept secret by the court system for a very long time, for not particularly good legal reason. And so now there's more to come, as we know. This is only the first 950 or so pages. And I know that there's many, many, many more names to come. And so this will give victims the legal permission to go forward and seek legal action if that's what they want to do.
Just briefly, Lucia, why have the names not all been released in one go? Because in a way, delaying the release of them means more speculation, which we have seen on social media, which obviously we won't repeat here. But why not do it all in one go?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And the answer is that it mainly comes down to the fact that it's a very hard task for the judicial system to unseal all of these documents, because these documents are still partially redacted to protect the identities of some of the victims who are named, who don't wish to have their identities revealed. So it's a long process of going through all of the documents, redacting certain names, and then uploading them to the court docket. It could just be that this is all that they could upload in one day. We might have exactly the same number of pages tomorrow. So unfortunately, it's a very boring answer, I think, about the clerical nature of the justice system. And we often see this with huge tranches of documents that
all makes sense. Lucia, thank you. Boring but very effective and helpful answer. Thank you so much, Lucia, for giving us a thorough overview of that. That's the legal affairs reporter